Hello. Welcome back to a new episode of Connecting Conversations. I and Sujata are back. Um, as I have mentioned earlier in my episodes, in case you have heard them, I have an advertising background. I'm a writer, and Sujata Iyer is my friend from the UK. She is a consultant in HR and manages her own business, and she is also practicing to be a counselor. We are first going to talk a bit about the issues that we've been having with the recording that you've been receiving. We are working on it, and soon enough, you are going to get a sound quality that will be very good. For now, just bear with us. Um, Also, we've received a lot of feedback about the last episode on is kindness a weakness. We've received calls, we've received messages, and it's been very gratifying to know that it has touched so many people. People have liked, shared, commented. Um, we ourselves are learning to grow through these questions that we ask ourselves, and we are trying to genuinely provoke ourselves to see whether we are able to live with the truths that we are discovering through these podcasts. Uh, what do you have to say to that, Sujata? Do you agree on that one or what?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi again to everyone that's listening to the podcast. Yes, taking over from what Bunty said, we've had a pretty good mix of feedback, and I think most of them are pretty relevant in terms of tweaking things a bit here and there. But I guess, Bunty, if I may say this, I think what's also crucial is for us to keep the essence of why we started this in the first place. And I believe as long as we are able to keep that going, I guess everything else I would say is more like a technical glitch, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think we are actually working on it. We've been talking to a few people who are from the field. I will speak to you once the podcast is over about my whatever my feedback I have received on that. But let's get
Sure.
to the topic on hand today. We have decided to speak on living with uncertainty. That's a relevant topic considering the scenario that we are facing as individuals and as professionals. I have a lot of uh, insecurity regarding what's going to happen in the near future. What's your scene? What's the state of your mind as far as the uncertainty we are facing as of right now?
Okay, so the way I look at it, Bunty, is long before COVID came upon us and the kind of lockdown that we've been enforced pretty much the world over. I would like to believe at some level as human beings, we subconsciously do come to accept uncertainty in our everyday lives. We
Mhm.
don't realize it. Uh, whether it is going to work in the morning, getting into the car, hoping that you don't have any incidents on the way, or going shopping, or taking the bus or the train or whatever.
Mhm.
There is a lot of uncertainty from the time you start to do something or achieve something to the time it is actually done. So that is one, and I think where I am right now, I think we are 8 weeks into lockdown now, and honestly, it hasn't affected me that much because, like I've said in the past, I've been self-employed. It will be 11 years this September, so my interaction on a daily level with other people is not much. But what really bothers me as far as uncertainty goes is when I will get to meet my parents. They
Hmm.
are in Bombay. My sister lives with them, and that's what probably is my number one priority, because I believe everything else can be managed. Whether it's a business or work, things do fall in place. But I think people are not going to be around forever, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
So that's the uncertainty and fear that I live with every day, that I want to see them sooner than later, uh, Bunty.
So are we uh, are we saying that the thing that we do not have is the thing that we which makes us uncertain about these things? Um, for example, I
E-
am with my parents, I am with my loved ones, um, and when I hear you speak about business will fall in place. I had actually had a smile on my face, thinking, "Oh, that sounds confident. I am not so sure how things are going to pan out in the next few months." But listening to you, I was like, okay, but what she's talking about, that doesn't seem to be a big deal. I'm with my family. It doesn't seem really a great deal. So is it this that we we do not we do not care about what we have on hand, but we are certainly um, worried about what we do not have or what we perceive as missing in our lives? What do you think about it?
yeah, that is what I would say. Say, for example, like you said, you are staying with your family, so your focus would be what's going to happen to my livelihood. I'm not saying I'm not worried about my livelihood. I'm
Yeah.
doing everything possible to reestablish my business or try to give it a different perspective if and when things become normal. And I'm also studying to be a counselor, so that takes away a lot of time. So yes, I am keeping myself busy and productive, whatever that is. But for me, the overriding factor is that I'm not able to be with my parents. Things that we would take granted for earlier, in the earlier times. Just take a flight and go and meet people. You're not able to do that, and that is extremely frustrating. So yes, it is what you don't have vis-a-vis what you already have, which is very apparent right
Hmm.
now.
Hmm. You want to talk a little bit about why are you missing your parents in particular as of right now? Is there any particular reason, or is it just the fact? Would you want to contemplate a bit about the reason? Is it because it's not allowed it has become important, or is it that you really miss them? If if you understand what my question is pointing towards.
I I do. I will have at least more than one answer, as always. Um. So, firstly, I haven't seen them after January of 2019. Uh, we had plans to go for a holiday uh, in April with my family to spend some time with both sets of the families, etc. And it was one of the first times that we actually planned this holiday way back in December, booking tickets and doing all those bits. Uh, but with all that has happened, I'm not able to meet them. Things that I probably took for granted, in terms of doing what I wanted to do, I'm not able to do that anymore. And this aspect is what uh, bothers me the most. I mean, I've always tried and uh, tried to make a trip to Bombay at least once a year, spend time with them or get them over here. uh, what is killing me is the fact that I don't know when I will see them. You get me? It's like I don't know when I will get to see them again. Uh, for
Yeah,
me,
that's quite deep.
that's yeah.
I
I
I
mean, when
don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
please
Sorry,
continue.
no, you go on, but
No, no, I was reiterating to myself. I don't know, and it suddenly seems so powerful in terms of realizing the impact of those words. I've said those words and often enough, and I'm sure you have. When you said them and you
yeah,
said the context.
yeah. I mean, I have never been a very I don't know if I am trying to find the right words here. I'm not somebody who calls people every day. I'm not active on WhatsApp groups, or I'm not even on Facebook and stuff like that. I'm not very social in the sense that I don't make any effort to keep in touch with people, which I know sounds really bad. That's also probably because there are this bunch of people I know in my life, and we just pick up things from wherever we left the last time. And to some extent, it has been like that with my family as well. I mean, I do speak to them, but now I try and call them every day. There are video calls, and every time I say bye to them, I say that with a lot of heaviness in my heart,
Mhm.
because I just hope, next day when I wake up, they are healthy, I'm healthy, and I still get to see their smiling faces. So, so for me, that's the most uncertain part of things, being in the midst of COVID-19, Bunty.
Yeah, I'm thinking actually, it's it's something that one is alien to, one has access to the family as I have. Um, it's interesting because I today happens to be we lost my dad. I lost my dad last year, and today was the first year function in a manner. There's still some time to go, but according to some religious tradition, we did
Yeah.
the function today, and I was thinking about my dad. Um, he had Alzheimer's, and it was quite unpredictable. The last 2 years of his life, we really didn't know what to expect, and one of the things, well, in hindsight, when one looks at it, it's very good to say a name like Alzheimer's or a condition, or you club things and say this was the experience. But the experiences are quite varied, and each episode has its ups and downs. And um, so one of the things in my head today was, uh, how did we deal with it as a family when we did not have uh, a proper roadmap. Why I
Yeah.
bring this up is because you just said every time you hang up your phone with with your family, and you're always thinking, I hope everything will be all right. I think at that point of time, sometimes uh, what was killing was this very fact that we did not know when. Some days you really wanted it to end, and some days you were afraid that it would end. I think the insecurity of not knowing what you wanted, not knowing what would really happen, or would it happen in the gamut of choices that you gave it. If you wanted to, finish off with it and say, okay, this is enough, I can't deal with this anymore. But what can you not deal with? Actually, is the uncertainty part of it. Can 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 you dig a little deeper again, if I may say so, because this is moving into an area of uh, that resonates, and even I'm uncertain about where this is leading in terms of when you hang up, and if you had to look at your state of mind and describe it, uh, what is the obviously the primary fear is survival, but why suddenly, why, what are we basing this fear on, this fear of uncertainty about survival? Why now of all the times?
Um, no, I mean, um, the reason I would say that is because, see, actually going back to your earlier point about the journey that you guys have had with your father,
Hmm.
in a way, Bunty, if I may say this, you guys have dealt with a lot of uncertainty the last 2 years till the time he passed away.
Yeah.
So, coming from a place like that to where you are now, I believe that experience would perhaps help you to draw some strength in facing the uncertainty at this point in time, is how I would look at it. Uh,
Hmm.
because when we had our first introductory podcast, I think one of the things I shared was, because of a couple of events that has happened in my life a few years back, where we as a family dealt with a lot of uncertainty on a daily basis.
Hmm.
Uh, and then when things finally happened the way they happened, we continue to live, we continue to do what we have to do uh, amongst all those uncertainties and unpredictabilities. But what helped me then, and also what is helping me now, is I would rather look at possibilities than probabilities, because you can't entirely rule out possibilities. You know what I mean? It can be good or bad, but at least there is a possibility. That's how I look at it. Uh, Not
Okay.
sure if that answers your question.
No, it what I also did realize, funnily enough, when I was thinking this morning while we were during the ritual itself, uh, thinking that uh, we kind of broke it down into everyday basis. So to draw a correlation, so when you're talking to them, you actually milk the situation for whatever it is worth. You make the points you want to make. You express the love.
Yeah.
You express the concern. You express gratitude internally for their well-being at this point of time. I think it forces us to be in the moment a lot more than anything else. And we had a lot of physical episodes that would happen. Like he was a very restless person as a patient.
Hmm.
So at that point of time, whether you liked it or not, you could not change it. And uh, very often, the drugs were something that we avoided for those kind of things. We chose to live through it, which
Sure.
is easier said than done. Which is easier said than done, because at that point of time, some days you were like, yeah, it's better to maybe sedate him and just sit in peace. But it's, I guess it's it's a journey. It's a journey, and I would now want to go to the point that you were talking about, the uncertainty of when we go, say, shopping, or when we go out, when we sit in our cars. Do you
Hmm.
think um, we are fearful beings? Do we are we pessimistic about our um, little journeys as well? Is that what we've become? Is that something that you resonate with as a thought?
I do. I do. I mean, I wouldn't entirely say pessimistic, because see, at the end of the day, it is to each his own, right? Everyone deals with situations like this very differently. But I feel what has worked for me personally is that I try and make peace with my worries sooner than later, and acknowledge that they are there. It may be possible that
Mm.
I'm crossing the road and I might get hit with a bus, or somebody may rob me of things, or a loved one will go away sooner than later, and things like that. So, uh, accepting my worries and making peace with them has probably helped me a lot in the last almost a decade, I would say. So whatever happens, things which are in my control or not in my control, whether it is events or relationships, I just try to look at it that way, and that has actually helped a lot,
Mm.
Bunty.
It's yeah, beautiful. I read something couple of days back. It was Chinese belief that if you have a big problem, make them small problems, and if you have a small
Mm-hmm.
problem, make them no problems.
Yes,
I
I've seen that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I shared it. I designed something and shared it on Instagram.
yeah.
I thought, in fact, the funny part is when I was searching for visuals for that one, I found a biological heart as a background, and I thought it made a lot of sense because that is exactly where we kind of supposedly live our feelings and our emotions and our. Um, we keep saying these are the things that move us. Um,
Yeah.
I too have kind of realized at times um, that making a peace with what you have. But tell me something: is it easy? How do you make your peace with the say for example, let's continue the conversation about your parents. So how do you
Yeah.
make your peace with that particular worry that you have, um, that they may not be well enough, or um, this disease that is uh, spreading all over the world may also hit home closer than what you thought. How do you make your peace with it? Is there a process? Is there
Um.
something that you think about, or does that happen, or do you have the initial worries, or you're intellectually comfortable about the whole thing, saying, "Yeah, I know that this might happen. So what? Is that what it is, or is there a little more process to it, or is there something? What is the process in your mind, if I were to
Um.
ask from the
I think
time?
intellectual is a very uh, no. I think to some extent that is pretty much I approach most things. At the end of the day, what has to happen is happen. I think probably that is because based on my life experiences,
Hmm.
that is one. The way I particularly have made peace with this situation with my parents is the fact that I feel I'm extremely lucky that my sister stays with them and she's there to take care of them. Like both of them are 78. My mom will be 78 in June and my dad turned 78 in January. And
Oh,
at the age that they are in, yeah, it comes with its own challenges. I don't want to get into details, but you
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean.
Yes, yes.
But the fact that my sister lives with them, they are together and they've always lived together, that for me, it's a big deal. I mean, probably it's also the way I look at things that it can always be negative or it can be worse. I always do that to answer your earlier question. If there is a situation that looks really bad or terrible, I try and always see what is the positive in that because I believe that everything has some positivity in it, whatever, however bad the situation might be. We may not understand it at that point in time, but it will really come through if you allow yourself that time and patience for that realization to come through. So for me, that is the biggest piece here that my parents and my sister are together. They don't have to go out for anything absolutely, and she takes care of it. And the other side of this piece, making peace with the worry, is I also have a lot of guilt and the fact that I'm not doing anything much. I'm staying here with my family. And someday I'd like to probably tell her,
Hmm.
just take a break and I will swap roles and be with them for some time and take care of them.
Yeah.
That is what I tell myself because I also know other senior folks within the
Hmm.
family who live in India, who are here in the UK, spread over, who are struggling. And these are the times that also makes me wonder, right? You have your child staying with you, which is, I mean, you can say that this will probably be for another discussion.
Hmm.
But there is a pro and a con for this as well. But at a time like this, I don't think it's only a pro all the way is how I look at it. I mean,
Yeah.
small things like I don't think my parents have stepped out of the door in the last 8-9 weeks. Though it's frustrating, it can be very difficult to stay put in a small flat. But
Hmm.
the fact that she is doing what she can do to take care of them and ensure that they are healthy, and then again, at the end of the day, Bunty, there is only so much that one can do to take care of things. I mean, if things have to happen, eventually they will happen, and that's another thing I
Hmm.
really believe in. Yeah,
Because because you use the last line, I will start from there. One of the one of the things that I always land up joking about is um, whenever one is about to bid goodbye, a lot of people land up saying "take care," uh,
yeah,
and that is one of the things definitely do not resonate with. Take care of what?
yeah,
As if it's a presumption that things are in my hand. The situations will pan out the way I think about them, or I play them out with whatever faculties I may have, emotional, physical, mental, whatever. Uh, so yeah, I always joke, no, I'm going to be careless about it. So as if it
yeah,
matters. But On a serious note, you know, what I have realized is uh, you mentioned you see a positive in every negative, which is one definitely one way to look at it. Um,
Hmm.
I I actually see the negative as positive. If it's negative, so there is a challenge to my way of being, whatever that way of being or that habit that I have about a certain thing. So I'll give you an example. In my job, I do not get to decide what kind of clients I'll get and what kind of job I'll get.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
My clients are event companies. My clients are from varied fields because some of them are direct clients. So I'll have real estate clients. I'll have IT companies as clients. Anyone, and their jobs also vary. At times, I have engineering companies where they want me to define communication for an engineering machine or anything that I do not have any prior experience about. So at that point,
Hmm.
while I'm listening to them, one of the clever things that one does is sit in the meeting and make the right noises earlier as a professional, just to seem that you are in control. Don't worry, I understand your product. I am going to design your communication, or I'm going to devise a way to communicate, which is going to be bang on. At the same time, wondering inside about what the hell does this mean? I have no clue, and what are they talking about? But I would find that itself giving me the right questions to ask. So
Yeah.
a lot of our conversations would start with saying why, and the client would actually look at us and if the client says this is the best product in the market and you will not find uh, any competitor doing as well as we are doing, and we would simply ask, we as in me and my design partner would ask why, and the first thing that they would do is look back at us as if we do not want the job, or we are questioning their integrity about the statement that they made, and we
Yeah.
have to earnestly explain why do you think so. There has to be a reason. There is something at the background. It's not just an advertising statement or a communication statement that you want to make. There is a reason in your
Hmm.
head.
Hmm.
So we need to know
Yeah.
where do you come from when you're making a statement like that. Now, while as an artist, those questions are easy to ask, and once you come back to the drawing board with all the information that you have, you still have to take a jump and come up with a creative idea. And trust me, there is no guarantee that you can sit. There is no process that can define in the next 1 hour. You will have a creative idea. It's very very difficult, and every time you sit on the table, you have no clue of what's going to come out. But over a
Hmm.
period of
Hmm.
time, with around say 20, I am now 25 years in the business. One of the things that I have realized, you just let go. You just accept that you do not know. You just stay alert to the information that you have. What did you hear at the meeting? The unsaid things as much as the said things. What was the tone of voice that a person is talking about? Is that what
Hmm.
he or she really meant, or is there an underlying communication that they wanted to talk about? So those things run in your head, and oftenly either I get an answer to what I want to do, or else I get the question that I need to ask the client, and sometimes they are taken aback because they've never asked themselves the question in spite of being there in the field for many years, and it's surprising. It works. So I think about life also is the same thing. Because we are uncertain as of right now about the situation, we have varying reports from different countries and differing government authorities, a lot of panic, a lot of unproven cures, a lot of stories. There was this friend of mine who shared a story, and he's doing a film on the police of the city. And one of the stories that he's doing is about this guy who contracted the virus. His
Hmm.
entire story, from the time he realized that he is not okay, to going to the hospital, to realizing he may have passed it on to his wife, and the entire journey of uncertainty about how to break the news to his wife that in spite of taking all precautions, she could have got him because of himself. And the journey of the 14 or 16 days that he spent in the hospital where everybody kept telling him, you're going to be all right, you're strong. But they kept an eye on him. Just there keeping an eye on him kept him on tenterhooks throughout the 14, 16 days. So this guy said, when I interviewed him, he said, these have to be the worst days of my life if I had to see and look back at what kind of life I've lived. I think, yeah, I think it's the problem of I don't know that the fear is. We like to know. We like to. I'll give you another example. When my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and we were told that he has Alzheimer's, it was just a word to us. It was just a word that one had read about or stories one had heard, and they didn't mean anything. And for the first few years, it actually meant nothing. He kept forgetting small things and he had small issues about things, and it was just a normal life. So technically, he had Alzheimer's, but we didn't have any problem. So we thought it is a big, I think it's a big ruckus that everybody's creating about something that's not really important. It's only when he started sliding down is when we realized that, hey, nobody spoke to us about this. And yeah, that journey of not knowing to acceptance, I think I think it's a horrible and an exciting journey, but it keeps you alert, it keeps you aware, it keeps the challenge alive, and that's why taking care or not taking care is not going to help. Are you alert to what life is telling you at this moment? And every kind of book, or you might be a doctor yourself and you may know everything about Alzheimer's or any such problem that you're dealing with at that point of time. I think it's your acceptance that starts to give you some kind of quote unquote looseness inside you. You say, okay, I accept. I stop being uptight about not knowing. Maybe a little long rambling that was, but yeah, that's more or less the kind of area in my mind that goes on at every step. At every step. Do you think there's an interesting question that just popped up? This concern that you have about your parents at this moment during whatever the circumstances are all over the world and in India as well. Does it also affect other areas of your life? Do you find yourself acting differently, thinking differently about normal things or anything at all on a daily basis?
Not really, Bunty. No, I mean, not really. I think to a large extent, I've been able to, I don't know, compartmentalize is the right word, but I try I try that this aspect of my worry about my parents doesn't seep into the other areas in life. I mean, I do speak about this occasionally to my daughter or to my husband. I express my worry. I mean, I also break down. I do all those things, but just because I'm worried about something that may not even happen, it doesn't mean that I have to ignore my responsibilities and not focus on things that I'm able to make it work, if you get what I mean.
Okay. My question is more on the lines of, see, the mind is, obviously there is some kind of compartmentalization that happens, but you are the same person. Is the same mind-body experience, as we call it very often. So I didn't mean it only in a negative sense or a positive sense. The idea was, okay, you do not take your worry in other parts of your life, but does it impact your sense of anything, experience of things that are going well or not going well? Do they pale or become important in significance suddenly? You know what I mean? Because this is an important. This is the second or the third time you've spoken.
Yeah, not really, Bunty. No, I mean, like I don't know if it was you or somebody who said last week that we all live in our minds. And
Uh,
I think
yeah.
we have this ability to tell ourselves what we want to or how we want to live in our minds, right?
Hmm.
So no, it doesn't. It doesn't have any negative or positive effect on other areas of my life as much as this worries me overridingly. But I still go about doing what I need to do on a daily basis, and that's how I try to keep myself engaged.
Uh, okay. Because
Have I answered it?
yeah, you have. Um, uh, I guess I I had a different experience while even now in terms of while I'm thinking about work as being uncertain in the next couple of months, and whatever we have on hand is thankfully I have work as of right now. So work and money is flowing in, and certain things keep happening. But the point that bothers me is a couple of months down the line, how is it this going to work out? Because I am not independent of the market itself, and advertising is one of the first casualties of a market that is not doing well very often. So those things are running in my head, and I find that affecting my preparations. I am far more alert about um, what I expect to do, and uh, I am also realizing that in my behavior with my family sometimes
Hmm.
uh, it it comes out as I am really overworked at times because I'm trying to figure out things. So it's not necessarily a worry. It has both elements. It is getting ready for what I expect to do in the near future, and I have to prepare myself.
Hmm.
I'm studying about that, and at the same time, because I'm available at home, their expectations of how I should behave, contribute to household work, uh, is also there. So this kind of it's a nice way to balance things out where I'm uncertain sometimes about how to uh, be professional about my work while being at home at the same time.
Hmm.
This is what I
Hmm.
kind of meant.
Okay. I just had one thought about the previous point that you made about your ability to see positive in the negative. Uh, I feel that may not be possible for most of us, including me, because I would say probably you had a larger number of years of experience with your practice, so your level of self awareness is probably different to others. So, I mean, as much as I said, I look at the positive in negative situations. I don't think I can look at something entirely uh, so binary, right? I can't say,
Hmm.
okay, this is negative, but it is positive. But I don't think it's going to be possible for many of us, is what my take is on that point that you made, Bunty.
Hmm. Okay. I think it's. I would want to sit and actually contemplate on what we've spoken rather than continue speaking to keep the podcast going. If we decide to take this forward next week as well, the same topic, we'll think about this during the week, and I would want to sit and really contemplate because this is a lot of ground that has been covered. Um,
Yes.
I remember a nice story of one of the great saints of India called Guru Nanak. He used to have a couple of disciples with him called Bala and Mardana, and in those days there was this way of questioning that was very popular. So they asked one day Nanak ends up asking this question to one of them, saying, "How many breaths can you be sure of? So before
Mm-hmm.
you're going to know before your death." So the first guy says, "Look, I am not a very great guy per se as you are, but I think having stayed very close to you and having served you, I think 10 breaths before I pass away, I shall know that I am not going to be there after my 10 breaths are over. So the same
Hmm.
question was put to the other disciple, and the other disciple said, I am not as confident as him. I think at most, I'll be sure of one breath, one in breath and one out breath, and I know before that I'm just going to pass away in the next breath. They both turn around and
Hmm.
ask the
Hmm.
same question to Nanak. What do you think? And Guru Nanak lines up saying, well, if my breath is going in, I'm not sure it's going to come out. If it's gone out, I'm not sure whether it's going to come in. I
Right.
think I think it's a wonderful story that reminds us that life is uncertain, and yet we need to live, and we need to live knowingly as much as we can know ourselves while we have the time. On that note,
Yep.
I think we should bid goodbye to our listeners for now. If there are points that we need to cover, we think of, or you have any reactions, please write into us, like, subscribe, comment on the podcast. Please feel free to do so. It helps us hone our talks better, covering the topic in a much more deeper manner if we can. Thank you for listening to us, and goodbye. Yes, Suja, I'll see you soon. And
Yeah. Thanks, Bunty. Thank you all. Bye.
bye.